Space, the final frontier. Well, okay, not really. All right, take two. Here in the Mitten State, welcome to Code 47, bringing you all things Star Trek, spanning the quadrants, the best thing since the neutral zone.
Welcome back again to the Thunderdome of the Star Trek. No, I'm just kidding. This is the Code 47 podcast on the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, episode 114. I am joined by a spectacular cadre of awesome guests today because we're going to take on kind of a fun topic in the first season because we are out of new content. So we're going to have to get a little creative, do some different stuff. But I am joined, as always, by my regular awesome super duper co-hosts. To my extreme upper left is Mr. Aaron Heminger of the USS Rhapsody. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning.
And skipping over our guest star, save the best for last, we'll go to Mr. Peter Stein, my chief engineer, over on the GP. Peter, good morning.
Good morning.
And last but certainly not least, the Trekker from the Windy City of Chicago, superstar of Screen Rant, that would be Miss Jen Watson. Jen, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you. And last, super last, but certainly maybe least, that would be my cohort of almost 30 years, my number one dude over on the Secret Friends Unite Prime podcast, Mr. Todd Oxtra, joining us. Good morning, my friend.
Hello, everyone in the trekking universe. It's good to be here.
Trekkaroo. Well, we will get to why we have this big cadre of folks in a moment here. But as always, I'd like to give some love and support to the good folks who are over on our Patreon, making it capable for Todd and myself and Peter and really Jen and a lot of other people to jump in and do some bonus content. I was just talking before Jen jumped on about how much fun we're having talking about SeaQuest over on The Facts of Geek Life and what a fun show that is. Todd and I talked about Sliders recently. That was a blast. Peter and I have an ongoing series where we're talking about Ron Moore's Battlestar Galactica. Todd's had a great interview show. Our partner Mark has done some different programs as well. Todd and I do a great comics program the other week called The Spinner Rack. Jump over to patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Get a free 7-day trial, sample our wares, and feel free to stick around if you like what you hear. And in addition to that, these are the folks at our top tiers that really make everything possible. On our Friends with Benefits level, we have Corey in HD, John Sedorf, the awesome Phoenix Sisters cosplay, and Mr. Brendan Myers. Our BFF level, we have the awesome Nias family of Sean, Stella and Henry, and my dear friend, Missy Merchant. Thank you all for supporting us. And again, patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. 7-day trial. We would love to see you there. Okay. Well, we have some actual news this week before we get into the main event. We did get an announcement at, it was an event in Brazil, if I'm not mistaken. What's the name of that show? CCXP in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Oh, Sao Paulo, the original name of the Defiant B. Little insider, who the hell cares trivia from Deep Space Nine. But we did get a month, but not a date, for the drop of the 5th and final season of Star Trek Discovery. So that is going to be in April of this year, so just 4 months down the road, that we will be seeing that over there on Paramount Plus in markets around the world, since they, I think, have finally proliferated to the point where Paramount Plus is about the only place that you're going to see the show. I don't believe it's on Amazon or other places out there now. So, okay. So, I mean, obviously anybody who loves Star Trek and enjoys the show is excited that it's coming back. It is the final season though. So let's go reverse clockwise around the horn. Let's have some reactions and kind of some hopes for what we might see in season 5. We'll start with Jen.
I don't know. I mean, I know that they did not know that this was going to be the final season when they wrote it.
Right.
They had to go back and do some additional stuff. So I'm just hoping for some hopeful stories, something that is coherent, and something that might take us into the Starfleet Academy show that's supposed to come up with, I believe Tilly is going to be in that.
Right, yeah, no, and being written by Tawny.
Yes.
She's in the writers' room of that show, which is pretty exciting.
Yes.
April and I were actually on the cruise back in February when that announcement happened, and Doug Jones was a guest, and he did a panel that day. Who said, "Yeah, I was on a Zoom call at 7:00 this morning, and that's when they broke it to us." It's like, wow, that sucks. But all things good or otherwise do come to an end, which is a truism in Star Trek. So yeah, I'm hoping for a satisfactory conclusion. When you think of the way other shows have wrapped up within Star Trek, some have had great conclusions, and again, everybody has a separate opinion. DS9 I thought had a great ending. I was fond of Voyager's ending. Nobody liked the end of Enterprise because it didn't really end. So I'm hoping that with time and with care, that they've really crafted something worthwhile. So Peter, how about you?
Hopes for Discovery. I do hope that they have something coherent. I do know that they had some reshoots, so they should be able to pull something off.
Right.
But as has been well documented, I'm not the biggest fan, so I just hope that they manage to. I hope they manage to land the plane, unlike some other shows.
Right. Yes. Not crashing into the side of a planet. All right, Todd, the quasi outsider. What do you think about the end of Discovery? You're a big fan, as I recall.
Yeah, I really love Discovery. It's one of those shows that I just feel like I wasn't expecting to like it, but it just, I love the cast. I love what they've done and the fact that they've taken so many chances. And that's amazing for, a property that's as old as Star Trek to just say, hey, screw it, we're doing something new. And
That's true.
I am curious now. I totally forgot about the Academy. And I didn't realize it was actually going to be taking place in this new era, which is cool. That's awesome. Because I was wondering, I think it's great to play in that era. Yeah, that's amazing. So in an Academy series is something I think people have always wanted. Younger cast can come in and do some funny things. I'm assuming there'll be hijinks involved. There'll be a sorority. There'll be a dean who shakes his fist. Gets in trouble. I think I cannot wait for that. Yeah,
what was
exactly.
Yeah. What was that, Jen? I missed it.
Maybe Boothby's still alive in the 30 seconds.
Oh, could he'll just be a head like on Futurama.
That would be amazing.
What? Yeah, Ray Walston's dead too, so it'll have to be like a stunt head.
Yeah. So I think the cool part is if that's going to happen, then I think it means that we will not see a lot of these characters for the last time, which would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, most stuff. All right, Aaron, take us home.
Yeah, so I was a little late to the party when it comes to Discovery. It took me a while to kind of warm up to it and get into it, and I actually ended up really enjoying it. I feel it really found its voice later in the series, and my hopes for it going forward with this next season is I now that we've crossed this threshold to where the galaxy is kind of open in a lot of ways, specifically to the Discovery because they have the ability to cross the galactic barrier, I'd love to see more exploration of cosmic life outside of the galaxy we know a little bit.
All right.
I'd like to see.
They'll run into all the Star Wars people. That's what they'll do.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'd like to see more development on the Tensi and how relationships with them are going. Because I thought they were a really unique and interesting species. And I hope it's not just a one and done where it's like, well, we've made contact. Okay, on to other things. I'd like to see more development on that.
You mean like the end of Picard season 2? We're like, oh, we're pals with the Borg now. Do. And then it's just like, nope.
That's driving me nuts because I still want to know who blew a hole in the galaxy. Come on, people. There's a hole in your backyard. What's going on?
The Reapers.
The Reapers. Yeah. Exactamundo. Well, cool. Well, as soon as we have a date for that, which I would imagine can't be too far off, and we do also know, here's a little late breaking news, and April and I found out about this because Jonathan Frakes had to cancel being on the cruise next year because in February because Strange New Worlds is back in production. He's doing a directing stint at the time that he would be on the ship on late February. Yay. So it's awesome to know that that's in production. Hopefully, I get a feeling we will hopefully see that by the end of 2024. Here's to hoping. But that was a summertime show. We got that in June. So I'm hoping fall, if they can really pick it up. So I don't know. I guess we will find out, but we will let you know when we know. All right. Okay. Now we're moving into the main event. So again, I wanted to do something kind of special at the, and I got the idea this summer when I saw the season finale of Strange New World season 2. We were introduced to a young Lieutenant Montgomery Scott. So we had a new actor whose name I probably should have in front of me, but I don't, cast as another one of our TOS characters, bringing the tally up to Captain Pike, less obviously the one, one beep for yes, two beeps for no kind of chair, but he's, kind of technically a TOS character. We have a Spock, we have a Kirk, we have a Uhura, we have a Chapel. Now we have a Scotty. So I turned my thoughts to, and I think we watched that last episode because I got a screener. April and I were on the way back from Vegas, so we watched it in a hotel room in Arizona. Great place to watch it on my tiny little iPad. It just really got me thinking, what would it be like? And I came up with the three other core characters, and it was Jen's idea to toss one more in. Of what the residual casting like for that would look like. So we're talking about the characters, obviously, of Leonard Bones McCoy, Hikaru Sulu, Pavel Chekhov, and Janice Rand, who was only really a character in the first quarter of the first season until she departed because they didn't want Captain Kirk to have a girlfriend. Whatever. Or
there were other reasons. Let's not get into them right now.
Yes, exactly. I have a book. April bought me a book, and that was her biography that I haven't read because I'm bad at reading things, but someday I will. So I thought we would go, and we're going to go the opposite of the direction that we went in the last segment. That we'll just go round robin. So the order will be, as I said, it'll go Aaron, Todd, Peter, myself, and then Jen, and you'll offer up Bones, then Sulu, then Chekhov, then Rand. So we're going to go now with Aaron starting out with his pick for Leonard Bones McCoy. Go for it.
All right. So first off, let me just say my favorite character from the old series is McCoy. So I really racked my brain over this. I had to think of an actor who was relevant. I did this really big deep dive into like how old was DeForest Kelley when he had the role and how old was the character supposed to be. And I played around with that. I ended up landing on my pick, one of my favorite actors, adorable man. Absolutely love this guy. Mr. Misha Migos himself, Misha Collins from Supernatural fame.
Yep. Wow. Love it.
Choice.
Absolutely love it. Like I said, no need to justify, but feel free.
I believe he's unemployed.
Yeah, he's got some time after Gotham didn't do so well. He's just a little bit older than DeForest Kelley was when he first did the role, and I feel like he's in that right age range. And I think he'd play off Spock and Kirk really well. He's really good at bouncing off of two leading characters from Supernatural and everything, and I think he could bring a lot of great energy to that role.
Totally awesome. Good choice. I love it. All right, well, let's move along to Todd, who's going to have something that you're going to be like, what? I just have a feeling, but go for it.
Well, now that the Orville's wrapped up, Seth MacFarlane is free to be on the show that he always wanted to be.
No! Oh
just kidding. That was just the one
okay.
I joked about that one. But I'm going in that same realm of more of a comedic actor trying to play around with a concept of, who he is and what he could play. And that's Will Arnett. I think can do the gravelly voice. He can do comedy. I think he just loves doing those type of things. So I think he would be a fun addition to, Strange New Worlds. Awesome. Love to hate him.
I love it. All right, Peter.
Well, I didn't have a whole lot of time to think about this, so I just pulled some people out. I'm going to go with, he's a little on the older side, but McCoy was a little bit of an older character.
Right.
James Marsden.
Ooh. Todd and I have met him a couple of times at shows. He's a pretty cool cat.
Yeah, I've seen him in a couple films, couple series. He does a good job. Obviously, the reason he stuck in my brain was because he was in Westworld, because I was looking for that Western connection to help with to be able to play that kind of character, because McCoy was generally the old country doctor sort of thing.
Right. Right.
So I think Marsden might be able to pull that off.
Awesome. Good deal. Well,
we're thinking of James Marster, Charlie. Spike.
Oh, who's James Marsden?
He's the dad in
Sonic. Cyclops in X-Men.
Oh, or just as when we were watching it when my son was little, he just called him Scott very derisively. Scott.
Well, also that shows how he's able to pull off that like
I'm
sick of your shit attitude that McCoy often has.
Right. Right.
So
Nailed it. Oh my goodness. Cool. Yeah. Well, I like James Marsters as well. He'd be great on the show too. Well, I'm going to bounce off of what Aaron had to say. I had a supernatural pick of an actor that I've absolutely fallen in love with, because moving from Supernatural over to The Boys, and that'd be Jensen Ackles. On The Boys, he's very dry, acerbic wit, which obviously McCoy is known for. Think it would be a great foil to obviously very straight-laced, a little less straight-laced portrayal of Spock with Ethan Peck, because we saw, some range in him in season 2 of Discovery. But I think he's relatable. He'd be very chummy to Paul Wesley's Kirk. So to me, I think he'd be good. And again, he's old. I don't know his age. He's a little younger than maybe Todd and I, but he's not young. But the character is older, probably older than the other actors that are playing. So I think that he would do well. All right, Jen.
So going with the idea that we have Paul Wesley as Kirk, I'm going for a Vampire Diaries reunion and saying Ian Somerhalder.
Ooh, I know his work from Lost. Yes.
And
who is he in Lost?
He was the brother. That there was a brother-sister, and the sister was Maggie something. Well, I can't remember the actress' name.
Maggie Grace.
Yeah, Maggie Grace. Gotcha. Oh, nice. Ian Somerhalder. That'd be a cool one. Good deal. Awesome. Okay. Well, now we're going for one of the most other beloved Star Trek characters out there. That would be the dude who flies the boat, Mr. Hikaru Sulu. Of course, who could ever replace George Takei? But that is really what we're going for here in a new lens. So, Aaron, kick us off. Who's your Sulu?
Okay, so this was another one that I struggled with, because I adore Sulu, and he's such a multi-layered character. He's an athlete, he's a pilot, he's just absolutely brilliant character. But to me, when I think of Sulu, above all else, I think family man. He had that whole arc with his daughter and everything, and that was something he always strived for and talked about. So I wanted to pick an actor who I was familiar with their work with family. And so I've been watching Monarch: Legacy of Monsters.
Oh, yeah, same here.
Yeah, and there's this actor. He's a young Japanese, I believe he's a Japanese-American actor. His name is Ren Watabe. And I just based on, his acting with his family struggles and everything, I thought he'd bring an interesting dynamic to the character.
Awesome. Boy, I wouldn't have plucked that out of a hat. That's pretty cool. All right, Todd.
I'm going a little bit off script here. Charlie knows this person. Bowen Yang from SNL.
Nice. Oh, and again, I'm an SNL devotee. I've watched it practically my whole life, for good or for bad. And yeah, he's fantastic. That's good.
And you've got comedic actors who've been on, like, what's Tig Notaro? She's a comedian who has done serious things. So I think Bowen Yang, he's done some film roles, but I think he'll be great. And, obviously SNL actors are always looking for like regular gigs. So I think it could go really well.
As long as you're not Kenan Thompson.
True. Good Burger.
Oh man,
Burger 2 came out. Charlie, come on.
Oh my God, I've been seeing those spots. I'm just like, yuck. Oh my goodness. All right, Peter.
Because I'm not so well into all of the multiple different television actors, I'm going with Simu Liu, the guy from Shang-Chi, the main actor there.
Quick spoiler, because we can do this together. That was also my choice. So let's talk about it together.
I don't think they can afford him.
Of course not. But
yeah, probably not. Not after Barbie. Yeah. Yeah, not after Barbie, but yeah, no, he's. I think he's funny. I've seen an episode of Kim's Convenience, which it didn't really click with me, but I thought he was great in that. But yeah, you're right. He, if they decided to do Sulu as a ninja, which they did in the JJ movie, obviously they would play right into his hand. But Todd makes a very good point. I don't think you're going to get that guy back to TV. But then again, never say never, because look at all of the renowned movie actors that find their way back onto television.
He's been in television as of this year. So
Right.
It's not out of the question.
And actors, in my experience, like a little something called a paycheck. And you tend to get that if you're on television.
Yeah, who knows when Shang-Chi 2 is coming out at this point.
Yeah, we have not heard a thing about it. So that that's kind of cool. That's funny. That's the hopefully not the first occurrence of two of us having a like mind, but it's funny that you and I were back to back, so we could double team that one. So that's cool. Good deal. All right, Jen, take us home. Who's your Sulu?
Harry Shum Jr.
Mm.
He was on Glee. He was Mike Chang on Glee. He was in Shadowhunters, which I did not see, but I know he's in that. And he was the Rakakuni guy in Everything Everywhere All at Once. So he has a dance background, I believe, and also plays some comedy as well. So
nice, good deal, cool. Okay, back up around to Aaron. Season 2's addition to the bridge in TOS, where Gene Roddenberry said we need a guy doing a bad Russian accent because we want to be all glasnost and shit. That would be Pavel Chekhov, with or without the Davy Jones wig that he was wearing in Casper, his first episode. But go for it.
Okay. This is another one I struggled with, and I have to confess, I have to credit where it's due. I phoned a friend on this one. I contacted my chief engineer of the Rhapsody, Nick, to kind of get some ideas, and he came up with a good one, and I was like, yes, I agree with you 100%. Noah Schnapp from Stranger Things.
Damn, you got my pick too.
Oh, I have a Stranger Things actor for mine as well. Damn it.
Yeah, well, he had to be young because, he's going to be in the academy at this point.
Right.
And I couldn't think of any young actors, so I needed help with that one. But that's what we came. Of course, he plays Will. For those of you not familiar in Stranger Things,
he's got the hair.
Yeah.
Whoops! Holy cow! We had a power failure here in Grand Rapids. Damn it! So there's a little aberration. So I'm very lazy and I don't like editing. So hopefully I get it right. But anyway, Aaron, you were talking about Pavel Chekhov.
Yep.
So let's do it.
Yeah, so my top pick for Pavel Chekhov, and again, credit where it's due. I phoned a friend on this one. My chief of engineering from the USS Rhapsody, Nick Reimers, helped me with this. Noah Schnapp from Stranger Things.
Oh, wow.
For those of you not familiar with the actor, he played Will, the kid who gets lost in the first season. And we figured he had to be a young actor, and I wasn't too familiar with a lot of young actors, so that's why I did what I always do when I'm lost with a pop acting issue. I called my buddy up, and we had an hour-long discussion about it, and that's what we came up with.
It's the Google. Totally awesome. Good deal. All right. Well, we're out of whack here, so hold on just one second. Whoops, weird little slip number 2. But we're going to soldier on. Todd, talk to me about Pavel Chekhov.
Well, great minds think alike. So, Aaron, Jinx, I also picked Will, Noah Schnapp from Stranger Things. The haircut goes a long way, and I do think he's got that sense of, calm demeanor, and he's a pretty clever kid. I've seen his, videos he does and things like that. He does, music stuff. So I think he could bring a new, a set of skills to this role versus Stranger Things. So that's what I pick.
Interesting. All right, Peter.
Well, again, I'm not too up on all the younger actors, so I went to a show that I've been watching and enjoying, and I picked Griffin Santopietro from Cobra Kai. He plays Danny LaRusso's son.
Interesting.
So, if you've seen the most recent season, there was an age up, I guess. Pretty sure it's the same actor, just a growth spurt. But yeah, I think that he could probably pull off a young Chekhov. So
interesting, very good. I went into the Stranger Things pool as well, but I picked Finn Wolfhard, who is also in the new Ghostbusters franchise. I like him. I said he's goofy looking, maybe a little too goofy looking to match with Walter Koenig, but I still like kind of his youthful foolishness because, again, Chekhov was always renowned for his tall tales and somewhat of his bravura every so often. But he was just kind of a young dork, just out of the academy, who, again, joined the cast in season 2 of TOS. And we would not see him in Strange New Worlds due to his age because he's just, the Strange New Worlds is currently, 6 or 7 years prior to when we would meet Chekhov in the first place. So outside of the JJ timeline where you can be 13 and apparently be on a starship and flying it or whatever, and then later be the chief engineer. I just, we don't need to go down the JJ rabbit hole.
He was 17, sir.
So I get to be a little older in the second movie. That's okay. All right. So Jen, please.
Okay. So I asked for a little help with this one. I had a couple different people suggest some things. My boyfriend Scott said, go with Tom Holland. I said, you can't afford Tom Holland. So
I like
I went
Simu
with
Liu.
a Tom Holland type, also from the MCU, and that is Matt Lintz. He played Kamala's best friend Bruno in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's got that kind of like, goofy dorky kid kind of look, and I think he'd do good at it.
Yeah. I agree.
Choice.
Good pick. All right. Okay, let's move along to which one that might be a little more challenging, because this was, a character that we had in the beginning, but then kind of trotted off for various reasons, which we won't get into. And that would be Janice Rand. That would be the lovely blonde yeoman that we had in the first part of season 1. So, Aaron, take us away.
So, my greatest familiarity with the character of Janice Rand was, and you'll have to forgive me, I don't remember the name of the episode, but the one where there's a transporter accident and Kirk gets split into evil Kirk and good Kirk.
The Enemy Within, yeah.
Enemy Within. Thank you. Yes, that one. I felt so bad for her in that episode because she went through a lot of trauma in that, and I really wanted a character who would bring strength to the role. Kind of maybe a little bit of a. She's a little bit of a villain in the shows she's in, but I went with and forgive me if I mispronounced this name, Madeline Pesh from Riverdale. The redhead, she's kind of a villainous character. I thought she had a really good face for Janice.
Yeah, I can picture her. Yeah.
I thought she'd really bring some gravitas to the role. So that's my pick for Janice.
Nice. All right, Todd, keep it rolling.
Definitely going off script again, but I think this would be a great foil for a lot of the characters, and that is Amy Schumer.
Oh my god! Oh, I'm such a big fan. Oh my god, very very raunchy female comedian. If you're not familiar, but oh my gosh, wow. Peter.
I decided to change it up a little bit and make Rand younger so that she's not in the same age range as the main cast, just to switch things up a little bit, especially since she's a yeoman in the beginning.
Right. To be typically a young person, right?
So I went with Peyton List, also from Cobra Kai. Also,
I like her a lot.
Why can't I remember it? The ghost one on the school.
School Spirit.
Isn't it just called Ghost School?
School Spirits.
It's also on Paramount Plus. Yeah.
Oh my.
So I really enjoy her as an actress. She has a lot of multi-layers going on, especially if you watch Cobra Kai with Tori. So I think that you could make Janice Rand into a much more complex character that is hinted at in the show and in a lot of extracurricular stuff with the fan editions.
Right.
But I think that you could make this character a lot more interesting, and I think that Peyton could make that happen.
You know who she reminds me of? Eliza Dushku from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
Kind of has that edge, cutting sense of humor.
Yeah. Nice. Good deal. Well, I went with someone who's not a stranger to greater Star Trek fandom because of the movie that she starred in where she played Star Trek fandom, to be Ellie Fanning from Super 8, from Maleficent. Very striking, I think, physical presence, screen presence. I've loved things that I've seen her in. And I think much kind of like what Peter was saying, she could be more of a breakout character, get a chance to maybe do a bit more that Janice Rand did in her short stint. So would be really a kind of a brand new take altogether. So all right, Jen, take us home.
So I also went with a Riverdale, but I went with Lily Reinhart.
Oh, I like Lily Reinhart. Yeah.
What she brings to Betty in Riverdale with that, it has that like layered, that sort of, there's a trauma with her character also that is a familiar kind of feeling for her. And I think that would be, I think she'd do good. I think she's got the right look for it. We've seen her in Riverdale, and I think she'd be great for Rand.
Totally awesome. Good deal. Well, cool. Guys, this was great. And again, my deepest apologies for the technical glitches we've had. Hopefully, through the mirror, the wonder of patching and splicing, I might lean on Todd to help me a bit with that. We'll get it all put together. But to wrap the segment up, put it in percentages. What do you think that there's a chance that they might actually move forward rebooting the TOS characters on television? I mean, like I said, they're already halfway there. What do you think? Like, Aaron, if you were to put it in a percentage, what would you say?
Well, I mean, it's got to be, 70, 80%. I mean, they have to do it. I mean, it's what the fans want to see. It's kind of a no-brainer,
Yeah, to me. What do you think, Todd? You're the skeptic.
I think it keeps things fresh. I mean, ultimately, you could lose some cast members along the way, contracts, things like that, and it's a good way to pulse them in. Like, the doctor with Bones, that the doctor that's the main doctor there.
Mabenga,
he's had some issues and some trauma and things like that, and it kind of felt like he's not all in and may need to resolve and do something else. So I could see transitions being the driver to bring in those other actors.
Gotcha. Very good. Very good. Peter, what do you think?
I think it's very likely that they're going to do it. I'm not going to say I would be the happiest about it.
Well, I know you're a very traditionalist. Yeah. And I know you're a big TOS guy. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear you. Very good. I also think it's a better than average chance. So I'm going to go anywhere between 60 and 70%. Just because if they have the momentum. Strange New Worlds is beloved. Something we touched upon in the pre-roll is that the Saturn Awards just happened. There were a ton of nominations, and obviously Strange New Worlds was one that received several. So yeah, it would not surprise me that they wanted to keep that rolling and engage that existing viewership with more. So. Jen.
I'm also going to go with about 70%. I think that it's likely, but it's not necessarily a sure thing.
Right.
We don't know how long Scotty is going to stick around, if he is going to stick around. We do currently have a chief engineer on the Enterprise that I think is awesome.
Totally.
Karo Kane's fantastic. I'd like to see another season of her if possible. But, whatever they do is whatever they do. And
True.
I know that the, Strange New Worlds came about because there was a lot of fan interest in this show even happening after what happened on season 2 of Discovery with them. So if there's interest for it, we'll see. I have not really seen a lot of sort of clamoring for it on the internet to the extent that I did for let's have this Captain Pike show. Or what's happening now is with the potential legacy show with Captain Seven on the G.
Right.
So,
yeah, totally.
I know that people really want that. I really want that. But I would also be totally not mad if they wanted to re-explore the original series a little bit and just sort of reframe some of that for a modern audience. Not to change too much, because I don't think that what they've changed has been, inauthentic. But there are things about the original series that, it's groundbreaking for its time, of course, but it could use a little updating.
Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily disagree. I know Peter does, because I can see it in his eyes. But at any rate, the good news is that, we've got nothing but time. Obviously, Star Trek is an institution, and there's going to be fun changes and new things coming forward, and we will always be talking about it here. So everybody, thanks for chiming in for this technologically challenged first segment of our show. Right now, Peter and Todd are going to leave us. Peter, where do people find you out there?
You can find me mostly on the internet at Petrus Aquinas. Mostly I'm on Discord, but, if you find me, you can say things. I probably won't say anything back.
It's always a possibility. What about Mr. Todd Oxtra? Besides the fact that he's with me, you can find him with me.
Send help, please.
Blink twice if you're in distress.
No, you can follow me on Threads at Toxtra and at Secret.Friends.Unite on Threads as well. Also on the Twitters, that's mainly just a placeholder to bring people over to Threads.
Twitter placeholder. Agreed. All right. Well, Peter and Todd, thank you again. We'll pause for a brief station identification, and then we'll be back to wrap up season 4 of Deep Space Nine. See you in a minute. All right, we're back. Wow, what an adventure. Hopefully when I go back and try to edit segment 1, it's, I try to Frankenstein it together. It's not too much of a miss. But yeah.
Recording equipment.
What's that?
You got all the tribbles out of your recording equipment?
I did. I don't even, they were in my internet box. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're a fan of, I guess not. I don't know if you're a fan of that show, The IT Crowd, but it was like, where it was Jen, who's the character on that show, believed that the internet was this box. And so, yes. So my internet, my internet in the box was corrupted by Tribbles. So,
Happens all the time.
Happens all the time. But anyway, we are wrapping up talking about season 4 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So things are getting hot in the Gamma/Alpha quadrant near that old wormhole. It sounds like down by the old, swimming hole or something. But yeah, we got some gems of episodes here. A lot of action, a lot of exciting stuff going on. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Jen, with episode 20, take it away.
All right. We have episode 20, Shattered Mirror, directed by James L. Conway, written by Ira Stephen Bear and Hans Beimler, aired April 20th, 1996. Sisko attempts to rescue Jake after he is lured into the war-torn mirror universe by his mother's living counterpart.
Oh my! Yeah. Whole lot going on here.
Yeah. So we have another mirror universe episode. This is not my favorite mirror universe episode. I'm sort of, take or leave him a little bit anyway.
Yeah.
But my heart goes out to Jake in this one too, because, his mom is back, right? And as far as he's concerned, this is his mom, even though Jake never existed in the mirror universe because they, never got together.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of bad manipulation in this, but I did see Sisko's everything that set this episode in motion happened in the Mirror Universe episode last season, which the name of it is escaping me. Where Sisko goes over and he plays like John McClane. He's like super badass. He seduces 2 women. He, has a smooch at the end with this Mirror Universe counterpart of his late wife. So yeah, in this episode, he comes back, they snag him back with this trick, this very manipulative trick that Mirror Jennifer pulls on poor Jake, gets him to go over. And so Sisko goes over to get him back. And he gets confronted by Dax, who he seduced, and she slaps him on the face, pulls a knife on him. Do you get my point? I hope not. That was a little on point, was it not? On the nose. And then, Bashir is clearly, he's very sadistic, this Mirror Bashir. Somebody pointed this out a long time ago. We do find out in a subsequent season that our Bashir is genetically enhanced. Sorry. But he was, as a child, he was very developmentally delayed, almost disabled, the way they described him. So with this Bashir not having those enhancements that our Bashir had, is this guy just kind of a violent, rumbling moron? But I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a weird retcon. But anyway, he and Dax appear to be together, and at the end of it, there's it's like it's a competition to figure out how many of our characters they can kill off in the Mirror Universe. So in this one, we lose. I think it was Nog the only one. We lose Nog, and then we lose Jennifer, who was already dead in our universe. So a little bit of symmetry. So. But we found out Worf is the head Klingon. We get some, decent play, I think, from Garrick, who is just very sniveling in this episode and very manipulative, kind of doing what he does best. And Kira is the intendant. I think that's the best part of the mix because she's a flip on our Kira, who's still very hard edge, but still has a sweet heart, where intendant Kira is just straight up evil in every conceivable way. So I don't know. I'd have to disagree. I kind of enjoyed this, but again, it had a lot of bang pow, shoot 'em ups, which I know, Jen, that's not your thing, but as a guy who loves pew pews, I kind of dug that. But anyway, Aaron, what's your take?
It was interesting to me, remembering having watched this episode, as a young teenager, and watching it now with the benefit of 20 years later. I remember the first time watching it being like, oh boy, another Mirror Universe episode. And now here I am 20 years later having, played like Star Trek Online, where everything is from the Mirrorverse in this game. I'm kind of like, another Mirror Universe episode. Okay. But it was interesting. It was again another great example of a multi-layered episode because, it's kind of like the underlying theme is everyone was kind of exploiting everyone else in a certain way. There's the obvious, they're being exploited by the Mirrorverse, to build this ultimate weapon, or well, not ultimate, but to help them build their version of the Defiant. But at the same time, the exploitation of Jake's mother figure both ways, in that she's exploiting him to get what she wants, but he's also kind of exploiting her in a way by putting this relationship that she hasn't earned on her in a lot of ways. And I can understand where he's coming from, that desperation for wanting to connect with a motherly figure and everything. But I don't know, it was kind of cringy at some points for me, and it was kind of hard for me to get into that a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's tough to disagree with you. I get it.
Yeah, and I think the standout for this, of course, was Benjamin Sisko, just being surrounded by all this, and especially knowing he's being exploited and everything, and the way he just kind of straightens that uniform and goes in, and is like, this is how a Starfleet officer should be. Like, even in this situation where they're just facing total destruction, and he's got that moment where he can leave and no one's going to stop him. But then at the same time, he knows he's the only one who can help these people to make sure they stand a chance. And, he just says, he turns his body, he's like, get out of that chair. Like, that was like such a great Sisko moment for me. I just absolutely adored that. So,
yeah, no, it was, without a doubt. So, well, cool. So kind of a mixed review. I get it. For me, there's no mixed review on the next episode. So, Aaron, why don't you give us the Muse?
Sure thing. The Muse. This is episode 21 of season 4, directed by David Livingston. Story by Renee Echevarria. Again, sorry if I...
No, that you nailed it.
Okay, and Majel Barrett Roddenberry with teleplay by Renee Echevarria. This first aired April 27th, 1986.
96.
96.
Yes.
I even have my glasses on. I don't even know how I'm... Okay, anyway. So the summary. While Odo assists a pregnant Luxana Troy, Jake falls under the spell of a mysterious woman, Onaya.
This was such a 50-50 episode for me. But anyway, you go first.
Well, I pride myself on my ability to read context clues, and I write a lot of scripts for projects that I do, and I'm really interested in the production quality and the writing and kind of seeing what the writer's intentions are. But I gotta admit, this is the first time I've ever watched an episode and I saw this Onaya character walk off the ship with no clues other than the title of the show and seeing her character, and I pointed to her and I thought, talent vampire. Like,
it's in the eyes.
I know. I was just like, I knew exactly what her thing was, and I'm like, talent vampire. I swear. Yeah. So it was interesting. I really liked the subplot with Luxana. I always love seeing Majel Roddenberry and Luxana Troy in these episodes, and we delight. I was watching this with my wife, and we were just picking apart her wardrobe and being like, "Oh, this is fantastic costume," and that's mostly what we were talking about. And I was like, "Yeah, that Odo, he's for someone without a face, he's such a lady killer." It just.
Eyes without a face. Talent vampire, by the way, got the name of the episode. So good work.
Yeah.
Usually, almost always, Jen lands the name of an episode for us. So an interesting streak to finally see broken. But I know Jen could come roaring back. So I would not be surprised. So with that.
No,
not at all. All right. Well, without further ado, please, Jen, your take.
I've got half of a good episode and half of a bad episode.
Exactly.
And I could do without the whole Jake and Muse and Talent Vampire thing. And
I know.
I would really much rather see this be about Odo and Lwaxana. And
I know.
Like that's a good story. That's a solid story. You've got Odo who's still kind of like aware of his feelings for Kira, but he's got this really genuine connection with Lwaxana, and this is not the first time he's had that connection with her, because in season 3, there was some of that too.
The Gratitude Festival, yeah.
Yes. But this is a little bit more genuine here, and that connection of them, their friendship, the connection of them as outsiders, and Odo's speech during the ceremony as being this heartfelt, true thing that he has to feel like he can't, like, it feels like it's not reciprocated by Lwaxana, because this is just like a marriage of convenience for her, right? But I mean, that's my favorite part of the episode, and that's one of my favorite Odo moments, actually. I mean, there's a lot of really good Odo moments throughout the series, but
of course,
I like this one. That half of it. The other half's like a bad Twilight Zone episode. Yeah.
Oh God, big time. Well, that's exactly correct. It's exactly like a bad '90s Twilight Zone episode. Not even like oh well, it's the '60s and give it a '60s lens. This is like
the 2002 one.
Oh, 2000. There you go.
So that was like the least great.
Early aughts is even more cringy.
The 80s one had a lot of Star Trek actors in it, and you can read all about that on Screen Rant.
Oh, look at that. Plug. I love it. Yeah, I'm 100% with you on this one. Love seeing, the First Lady of Star Trek, Majel Barrett Roddenberry, in one of her final turns as the character, if I'm not mistaken. This could be her final turn as a character, actually. I'd have to look that up. But almost she does. Of course, Majel Barrett does obviously go on to be the voice of the computer all the way through the end of Star Trek Voyager and into Star Trek Nemesis as well. But yeah, a great turn as her character. It's interesting that I think we're somewhat disadvantaged by the fact that this ends up being a no stakes episode because, she was married and she had a baby. And then with the exception of some beta canon, which happens in a novel, that was I think the Battle of Beta Z. It was a Dominion era novel that I know I read in the early 2000s, which I enjoyed very much. She appears again. And, Troy is on the cover of that book with a rifle and defending her planet because, of course, Betazoid in season 6 falls to the Dominion. And so it's a story based around that. And Lwaxana appears in that with her child and such. But yeah, great character development for Odo, kind of pushing him forward and exploring the complexities of that character. But, a shame not to see Lwaxana anymore. So, but yeah, the Onaya bit. And that actress, Meg Foster, very striking visage, no matter what kind of makeup she's in, just because she's got those eyes. But terrible talent vampire thing happening. So, blah. Big thumbs down for me. All right, let me jump us into episode 22 for The Cause. James L. Conway did the directing, story by Mark Garrett O'Connell. Don't know that name, so it could be from the slush pile. And teleplay by one of my heroes, Ron Moore, from May of 1996. Cisco learns that his girlfriend Cassidy might be a Maquis smuggler. Whoops! Oh, the things we do for love. Garrick has taken an interest in Gul Dukat's Bajoran half-daughter, Torziel. Oh, gosh, so many good moments with that. Not the least of which is when you have a scene in the tailor shop where Quark is in there getting a suit made, and the interplay between two of them, he says, "Make the lapels look good." "Oh, I'm so glad you said that. I was looking for a way to make the lapels look bad." And Quark says, I could do without the sarcasm. I don't need another waiter. What a great scene between two just absolutely awesome actors, both of whom I've met. I don't know if I mentioned this, and I just Armin and Terry are now with Robbie and Garrett doing a retelling of all of DS9 on the Delta Flyers. That started actually just this past week. But I have spent some time with Armin. My favorite Armin story, I met him on the cruise, but when we were at Star Trek Las Vegas, April and myself, and then Missy and Kay, we were all grabbing an Uber to go to one of the parties that we attended. And as we're standing in front of the Rio waiting for this car to pull up, I sense someone to my right, and I turn around and it's Armin. sitting there also waiting for an Uber, and he called Kitty and was just checking in with her, and we had a conversation, just told him how much I admired his the Shakespeare, his work within Shakespeare, and how he talked about it on one of the segments that he did when he was on the cruise. And what a lovely man, and has aged. He looks the same now as he did 30 years ago. He just has exactly what you would expect, but just a very gracious and talented man. So, but that's not what this episode is about. I went on a tangent, excuse me. I watched these all the way through when they were on the first time. This was during the summer between my sophomore and junior years at MSU. But being just absolutely shocked at the end that Eddington, who we almost never see, and so this was a little convenient, ended up being the villain. But he was a great villain, because this is the first of his 3 appearances as a Maquis character. That was awesome. The little interplay that they have at the end is awesome. He says the Federation is worse than the Borg, because at least the Borg tells you what they want, where the Federation just kind of seduces you with replicators and friendship and yada yada yada, and all of a sudden you're just one of them. And you're just like, well, screw you, buddy. Just my response. Be talking to Sisko like that, he's gonna beat the crap out of you. But I love this, and I do admire Cassidy for coming back and taking her lumps. And she went to jail. What happens to her relationship between her and Sisko after that, you don't know. So it's just left to hang. So I thought it was a great episode. I enjoyed it very much. So. All right, enough of my blabbing. Jen.
One of the things that I really liked about this episode is that we've seen Eddington before, that he's not a brand new character for this episode. He's one of those guys in the background with a name. You see a bunch of them on Voyager. You saw a lot of them on Next Generation. O'Brien was one of them for a long time too. So you're expecting him to be around. He's got a reason for being there. And he's not just, brand new guy that
Ensign Ricky.
Him.
Some dum-dum.
Yeah. Brand new guy. And, right. But he's also this sort of inconsequential character up to that point too. He's not, he's
no background.
There. He's in the background. And that's what makes it so interesting to have him take this turn. And his perspective is, the way he frames it is understandable. As someone who's been sort of disenfranchised by the powers that be of the Federation. Right. He does have a way of expressing his frustrations with it. And I have heard some people, say, maybe the Federation is an analogy for this, for other things. So I get where he's coming from. I disagree, but I get where he's coming from.
Yeah. That is really what I think a lot of us look for out of entertainment, to give us an opposing view that we can appreciate, even if it's not ours. And this I think really pulled that off. Yeah, no, I totally agree.
You've never had that type of. I think the only other time that you've seen someone that's kind of like that was with Ro in Next Generation. And obviously she was supposed to come to DS9. That was the original plan for her before we got Kira.
Right.
But that, and, the Maquis continue on to Voyager too. And you see, these perspectives of people who have been sort of let down by the Federation and by Starfleet because it can't be perfect all the time,
Right.
It's easy to be a saint in paradise, they said.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Earth.
Yeah.
But out here, you don't really know what your consequences are going to be. And DS9 is all about consequences and hard choices. And there isn't going to be an easy answer all the time. And that means sometimes people like Eddington are going to defect. And, and take matters into his own hands to the best of his ability. I mean, Sisko kind of takes matters into his own hands too throughout the series.
Right.
So yeah, this is an interesting one. And Cassidy being not really a red herring here. Like she's also just trying to make a living.
Right.
With her freighter.
Right. And trying to, and, you know, like a lot of the Maquis, just trying to do something that they think is right, you know, and so she's amongst that. So, yeah, no, I totally agree. So, Aaron, your thoughts?
Well, you know, this was another solid episode, and when it comes to Eddington, got to respect that long game. The development they did of introducing him as you know, almost a background character, and then having this switcheroo of this big reveal moment where he's you know, been the bad guy all along. That was absolutely mind-blowing and fantastic.
All along.
No. Oh, there's our new name. Oh, Jen for the steal. All right, Aaron, please continue.
Well done. Mad respect for that. No, the one part that really like shows what kind of a terrible person Eddington is for me was when he's like you said, he was giving that speech about the Borg. But the big thing that I kept thinking the entire time he was giving that Borg speech to Sisko was like, you're talking to one of the only survivors of Wolf 359, man.
Yeah,
like,
that was poor. That was poor form. There's no doubt about it.
what a slap in the face. But you know, Eddington, you know, I might be a little bit biased here as a former member of Maquis Forces Buchanan back in the day.
Yes, Maquis Forces Buchanan. I understand.
Yeah, I understand where they're coming from, and I supported the Maquis up to a certain extent. But Eddington is the reason why the Maquis had to be opposed at some point, because he's getting into a point now where he's manipulating and exploiting people and hurting people to get what he wants. And that's not okay. That's not the Starfleet way. Not something I can personally condone. At some point you have to, you know, take the high ground and do things the right way. And Eddington was just taking it too far.
Yeah.
You know, and this was definitely the start of that downward spiral from being a noble cause to, okay, now you're a problem.
It's
you know,
almost like some of the villains in the MCU where they seem like they have a good point, and then because they have to be a villain, they just, you know, kill somebody for no particular reason. Like, not that Eddington's killing anyone yet, but like, it's, you know,
it's like you had me until. Yeah. Yowza. So yeah, for me, definitely in the running of Best of the Pack for this. So all right, cool. All right, let's move on. Jen, I'll kick it back to you for episode 23, an introduction of a very important character.
Episode 23, To the Death, directed by LeVar Burton, written by Ira Stephen Bear and Robert Hewitt Wolfe.
Super
Sisko
talent.
and the Defiant crew join forces with the Jem'Hadar to stop a group of Jem'Hadar renegades from gaining power using an Iconian gateway discovered in the Gamma Quadrant.
Woohoo!
May 11th, 1996.
A lot of stuff going on in this episode. People and places.
Almost
and
too much.
yeah, you make a very good point. Yeah, because you're getting, you know, the introduction of some key characters and plot points and whatever. Yeah. But go ahead, please.
So yeah, you're heating up, getting to the, you know, the Dominion War, and I mean, introduction, of course, of Weyoun in this one, right? Right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Not Jeff Combs, because we did see Jeff Combs as a guest star in season 3. Yes. He played a skeevy guy who was a creeper on Kira, and it was a holodeck program. That was him. Yeah.
So yeah. Weyoun comes in as the sort of keeper of the Jem'Hadar, as the Vorta race, and there's a, you know, connection to them, and the Iconian thing is what comes back from Next Generation.
Season 2
coming in to kind of go, I was here when.
Yeah, I got that reference. Yeah. It was a Worf. I got that reference deal. Yeah. So
yeah.
But
there's a lot going on in this episode.
Yeah, big time. We had 2 Jem'Hadar guest stars who were notable. We had the venerable Brian Thompson, who is a very big dude, a very much a that guy. He's been in everything. He's been in Buffy. He was in the original Terminator. Help me out here, Aaron. Are you thinking of any other great roles that we've seen Brian Thompson in? He's just one of those that guys.
Yeah, I think that sums up real good. That guys, I can't think of anything. I think you got all the ones I could think of off the top of my head.
The 2 big ones. But the main Jem'Hadar is played by a guy named Clarence Thompson, or I think it's Clarence Williams III, who was this is way before my time, but anybody who watched or familiar with the show called The Mod Squad in the 1970s, it was a young white woman and a black guy and a third character who I'm drawing a blank on. He was the black guy, just very formidable dude. He was also the father of the character portrayed by Prince in Purple Rain. There you go. There's a semi more contemporary reference, I guess. But anyway, awesome actor, very steely faced. Really pulls the role off. You learn a lot about the Jem'Hadar in this episode. You know, the oldest a Jem'Hadar gets to be is maybe 20, and they're called honored elders. They don't sleep. They don't have women, that's kind of a problem. It would be for me. And apparently it's not a big deal, because at the end of this episode with the big fight, when Weyoun questions the validity of the Jem'Hadar saying we completed our mission, Clarence Williams just vaporizes him, and it's just like, nobody really bats an eye. It's good. I thought that was one of those kind of like, hey, we got to wrap this up, so let's just have some random violence and it's going to be okay. Random violence wrap up. Yay! That could be a contender for a name of the episode too.
Yay.
Oh, we get that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Kind of how the Jem'Hadar are, though, right? Like that's all they know is being violent and war, and like they could have had a little bit more depth, because they're sort of akin to the clone troopers in Star Wars, and that they mature fast and are trained to be soldiers. And we had so many interesting characters that were clone troopers, but like, not to pull in too much from the other franchise, but like
that was good.
The Jem'Hadar, you get some complication with them, you get some interest with them. You see other episodes where they're a little bit more interesting as well, but they're they're just kind of one note.
Yeah.
They are kind of like, we are war. We are,
victory is life. Victory is life.
Victory is life. Yeah, exactly. So, to contrast that with, I really like the scene where the one guy was talking with Dax, and how she's like, that's a lousy existence.
Yeah. You don't eat, don't sleep, and you don't get laid. So that's big thumbs down from me. It's no joy. Aaron.
Absolutely love this episode. I've said before, Jeffrey Combs is one of my favorite actors. I absolutely adore that man. And his portrayal of Weyoun has always been one of my favorite characters. And it was really great seeing him introduced in that way. And for me, the big delight for this episode was seeing the Jem'Hadar forces being forced into a situation where they have to work alongside Starfleet, and getting to see that dichotomy of these opposing views, between the Jem'Hadar warriors and Starfleet, and seeing how, in spite the fact that they're so intrinsically different in so many ways, they still found a middle ground to work together. And I thought that was very, very inspiring. I love that scene in the in the turbo lift with Weyoun and the First and Cisco, where they're trying to figure out how are we going to make this work. And then it was the Jem'Hadar captain, the first who said that we need to mix the teams together, because the only way we're going to respect you is by fighting together.
Right.
And I thought that was really profound. You don't really realize how honor is so important to the Jem'Hadar in much the same way it is to the Klingons.
Right.
And that was
yeah, and the big mix between Brian Thompson's Jem'Hadar and Worf. Hey, I've always wanted to kill a Klingon, and then they're doing that. It was some really questionable stunt work of how they're rolling around on the floor in the mess room. But then Cisco and Clarence Williams come in, and they're like, "Mr. Worf, I told you not to do this. You're restricted to quarters." And Clarence Williams like, "You knew my orders. Yes, and I deserve punishment." And he snaps his neck. Yeah, I'm like, "Yay, violence again!"
Yeah. Woo.
Yes.
Yeah. Excessive force. Yeah, no, it was great. I kind of lost my thought a little bit here. Oh no, I'm off the track. I love that idea of in a war story, it's like in any other circumstances we could have been friends. Right. And that was kind of the vibe we were getting from the Jem'Hadar in this, which kind of makes, everything to come in all the more tragic. It adds so much depth to it. I love it for that.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Yeah. And again, a strong runner for one of my favorites. So this is going to be tough when we get to the end of it here. So I think it's me now. Episode 24 is The Quickening, directed by Rene Auberjonois. Naren Shankar is the writer. He was the stalwart of the writing staff of TNG. And this is a very thoughtful episode. So I think he's a wonderful writer. Bashir tries to free the population of a Gamma Quadrant world and the Teplin system of an engineered disease left by the Dominion 200 years previously. Wow. This, I thought this was pretty intense. This is from May of 1996. Pretty intense, but it also really punctuates Bashir and his own, and this is before we find out why he's so smart, because he's, we find out in season 6 that he's genetically, middle of season 6 that he's genetically engineered in the episode Dr. Bashir, I presume, which had Robert Picardo in it as the actual Louis Zimmerman, who was creating a long-term EMH program using Bashir as a template, and exposed the fact that he's basically Khan the Doctor, pretty much. But at this point, we just think that Bashir is like, well, he's really great, but he's also super arrogant, which is, a sort of a stereotypical portrayal of a physician in entertainment. Like, oh, I know everything. I have a God complex, blah, blah, blah. But I think that really plays out pretty effectively in this episode, because, it's Kira and Dax and Bashir on an away mission in the Gamma Quadrant. They stumble upon this. They beam down. Bashir says, "Oh my God, I can fix this. I mean, it's a virus, And he even makes reference. He's talking to Dax. Hey, don't you remember when we were in the blah 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 with the this and that, such and such? We fixed it in about 20 minutes and introduced the thing into the water supply." And he's like, it ain't no thing. He insists upon himself. This is an expression I'd love to use when somebody is an arrogant jerk. He really insists upon himself, and he really does. But he can't beat this one. He and Dax work very hard on this, and Kira has to leave to avoid being discovered by the Jem'Hadar. So they're there on this planet for several weeks. They enlist the help of this native who is a pregnant woman. This quickening kills absolutely everyone, but it comes at different rates, and everybody has weird little tattoos, and when they turn red, you die from the quickening. So they're treating this woman, they're treating other people, they think they're onto it, and in the end of it, they're not. Everybody dies. This woman dies, but her baby is born, and the baby doesn't have the quickening. So he found a vaccine which can be introduced into the population so that the next generation will not have it, but he still didn't cure it. So you even see in the last scene of the episode, he's back on the station, staying up to all hours of the night, still plugging variables into the computer, trying to beat this, and he just can't. So this is one of the first times that you really see him stymied, and hopefully it knocks him down a peg, because God knows in life we all need to be knocked down a peg when we get a little high on ourselves. So I really like this episode too, and it was nice. It had an A story. I don't know that there was a B story in this episode. Wasn't it just really pretty singular? Unless I'm misremembering. I watched it. Yeah, I've seen these episodes time and time again over the last 25 plus years. So I will admit I don't sit and take notes and maybe pay the strictest attention as I could. But I feel like there was just an A story in this one. But there was plenty of story to tell. So anyway, Jen.
I really like this episode, but I also really like Bashir. He's a fascinating character to me. Because he does start off the series so full of himself and so arrogant, but also so very green, so just wide-eyed and eager and kind of annoying. And this is one of these episodes that he's trying to prove himself. He is insisting upon himself because he believes so strongly that he can do this, and that if he can't, then it can't be done. Because he's supposed to be able to be this. He's supposed to be this genius, right? And it's like, if he's not a genius, and if he can't solve all of the medical problems, then
he's a failure.
Who is he? And is he doing this? Yeah. Then he's just putting all of these expectations on himself, and I like that as a story, and I identify that in some ways, is that
sure.
He's a perfectionist, and he's supposed to be able to do this. And I like, Dax being, pointing out that just because you can't do it doesn't mean that it can't be done. There's other options, there's other ways, there's other things that you may not have thought of. And it is one of the first, well, not first, but an earlier step to him learning a little bit of humility and, like you said, sort of taking him down, but making himself more just self-aware, really, and a little bit more relatable instead of just being,
super dude, super doctor. Yeah, big time. All right, Aaron.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. Man, what a tearjerker though.
Yeah, big time.
It was really hard for me to watch this one at certain points, but I as far as character development for Bashir goes, yeah, this was a fantastic moment because it was ironic because the first time he comes on DS9, he's all like, frontier medicine, this is the wilds. This is what it's about, right? Yeah. And this was him getting exactly what he asked for.
He was like, wait a minute, this kind of sucks because I'm not the master of my domain here. So yeah,
but that's why he's here. It's everything was leading to this in a lot of ways in terms of his ambitions and everything, because this is what he wanted. He wanted to be on the front lines. He wanted to get his hands dirty and prove himself and everything. And then he gets here and he sees the consequences just up close and personal, and he has to go through that with these people, and he matures a lot over the course of this episode, and that's fantastic. Yes. I mean, and I agree with you. I find him just delightfully arrogant a lot of times. It was kind of nice to see him kind of put in his place a little bit. The other interesting thing I had with this whole thing is, this is the Dominion using biological warfare on another species. And again, we have the hindsight of coming back to this, after Picard has come out and everything. We got to see the wrath of the returning changelings and the fallout from that.
Yeah.
And it's like they're like, you did this to us, you committed genocide. And then you can look at this episode and like, you were doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Do as I say, not as I do. Thank you.
Exactly. Yeah. So I kind of was thinking that through the whole episode. And I was like, this isn't right. No one was right in this. But I can't help but wonder if maybe Section 31 might have been a little bit inspired by some of the war crimes you had already committed on people under your jurisdiction.
Yeah, thanks for your book of war crimes. We appreciate it. Well, I didn't read the Cliff's Notes. Yeah, exactly. Oh, book of war crimes, not a bad one either. But I'm sorry, Yay, Violence is still going to have to be the top shelf one for me. That was good stuff. All right, well, let's turn our attention to a vaguely more lighthearted episode. 25. That's you, Aaron.
Okay. Episode 25, titled Body Parts. This one was directed by Avery Brooks. Story by Louis P. DeSantis and Robert J. Bolivar. Teleplay by Hans Beimler. And this originally aired in June 8th, 1996.
There you go.
I learned from my mistakes. And the summary. Quark is diagnosed with a terminal disease, Dorex syndrome, and given a week to live. Due to an unavoidable accident on the runabout, Volga, Miles and Kiko's unborn baby is transferred to Major Kira by Dr. Bashir.
Oh my gosh. And we get nearly a back-to-back in two different roles, appearance by Jeff Combs. And again, I've spent a decent amount of time with Jeff Combs, believe it or not. I was on stage with him on the cruise for a variety show sketch where I volunteered, and I was on stage with him and Tawny. And then he was a guest at Grand Rapids Comic-Con earlier this spring, and he stopped by the booth and chatted us up because April and I already knew him. So he's a super nice guy in real life. So I love seeing him in anything. What can I say? But yeah, man, a fun episode, right? Sort of, I guess, even though it deals with
compared to the ones around it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. This is as lighthearted as we get. Bashir does a second opinion on this this Ferengi doctor who tells Quark that he's dying. And the very first thing that Quark says, Rom's like, "Oh my God, brother, do you know what this means?" He's like, "Yes, it means I get to sue Dr. Aramek for malpractice." That's all he really cares about. But yeah, Quark goes out there. He says, "Well, the way that I can erase my debts in death is I will put myself out there so everybody can," because there was precedence in buying a vacuum formed sample of someone's dead body in Ferengi Ferengi society on the commodities exchange. That's an established thing. So Quark goes out there, but the person who buys all of it up is Brunt, played by Jeff Combs from the FCA, who knows that Quark is not actually going to die, but he can use this to force Quark to or either commit suicide or arrange his own death. And if he doesn't, he will be expelled from Ferengi society. So after much consultation, he does, and by hiring, I love it how he hires Garrick to kill him, but they do it in a holodeck scenario. So he's like, poison. He says, if I know the food's poison, I won't eat it. And you said that the getting poison smelled bad. And if you snap my neck, I don't want to listen to my neck snapping. It was just like, oh, I guess the customer isn't always right. But in the end of it, obviously, he decides that, you know what, I'd rather live and not be part of Ferengi society. So all the contents of his bar get taken away, and he's banned from Ferengi. He gets the Ferengi black label. It's kind of like in a restaurant where it's like, there's cockroaches here. Slap, goes on the wall. So yes, that's the lighthearted part of it. And then, the B story with Miles and Keiko's unborn baby being transferred over to Kira. Obviously that was done because Nana Visitor was pregnant with Alexander Siddig's baby, because they were a couple at the time and later got married. And their son, whose name is on the tip of my tongue, was in utero. Aaron, I totally stole that away from you. What are your thoughts on the episode? Sorry, I was monologuing. My bad.
Oh no, I always enjoy your monologue, so it's fine by me. It's a treat for me. Don't let me stop you. I really enjoyed this episode. I love seeing the developing insights into Ferengi society and their values and everything, and it's really funny. Especially these Quark episodes, I watch them with my wife. And the thing about my wife is she's a Capricorn. She's very finance motivated with. She handles.
We got to get her the ears. We got to friend up your wife at some point. Yeah,
we always joke that she was adopted by Ferengi, and so she's very familiar with the culture. So we watch all the Quark episodes together, and she was watching this one and the episode, the part where he's like going through and selling everything off and counting everything, and she's just like, this just makes so much fiscal sense. I mean, it's. And then
I really like where he's going with this. It's good.
Yeah, and then he ends up losing everything because of his rebellion against society. And she's like, I respect his decision, but he's lost so much profit. And she's just like crying.
I weep for his accounts. It's so sad.
Like she's so into it, and I love it. And it makes these episodes so delightful to watch with her. But yeah, that was fantastic. The whole Quark episode and the bit with Kira. Man, what an innovative solution for a real world problem with Nana and her.
They don't have to hide her behind a chair like they did with poor Gates McFadden throughout all of season 4 of TNG. Is let's make her stand behind a chair. Let's make her stand behind a whatever. So yeah.
It's such a brilliant move because she's such a warrior oriented character in a lot of ways, and everything, and she's putting in a situation where she has to be a nurturer and a caregiver in a lot of ways, and it's such an interesting struggle to see with her character. It's just brilliant, especially with her being the way she is. To put her in this situation, it's a wealth of story possibilities moving forward, and I'm just so impressed that they found such an innovative solution to that.
I love it. Good deal. All right, Jen, we've been yakking away. What's your take?
Okay, what are body parts?
Yes, I know. So much going on.
There is a lot going on. There's always a lot going on. So it is the lighthearted episode of the bunch, if we're going to have a lighthearted episode.
Right.
I understand why they did what they did with Kira. I think it's, interesting too that Bashir did it because Bashir did it.
Bashir did it.
Yeah. There's an episode later, I think, where she goes, you did this to me.
Oh, God. Early in the next season when she's obviously still pregnant.
Yeah. I wish there had been some consent, but there's times, I guess.
It happened. It happened. Off camera, but yeah, it was one of those desperate situations. But yeah.
As a woman watching this, I'm just kind of like, But anyway, it's a clever solution. It does what it needs to do, and Kira's generous enough to not complain about it any more than she does.
Right.
The Quark storyline, though, that was great. He's dying, he's not dying. But the thing for me was at the end of it, after all of his possessions are gone, and they just sort of like start bringing in, oh, we have these glasses that we don't need here, you can take them. Oh, we have this table, where can we put this? And it's the generous spirit of the Federation accepting Quark for who he is.
Right, because he's part of their community, so they love him. Yeah.
Right. So they're going to do what they can to help. And it's like, we recognize your culture, we understand that, but our culture is acceptance and generosity and kindness and compassion. And we have that for you, regardless of things you may have done or said in the past. Quark's a product of his circumstance. We've, sort of talked about that in previous episodes too. So I like that. It's a very Starfleet Federation answer to the problem that he has. They're all a family,
right?
In a way. So
great big family. Yeah, take that, Eddington, trashing on the Federation. He sucks, that guy. Oh yeah. All right. Well, if that was a fun episode, this next one is not. So, Jen, I think you're taking us home this week, yeah?
Yeah. We've got episode 26, Broken Link, directed by Les Landau, story by George A. Brozak, teleplay by Ira Stephen Bear and Robert Hewitt Wolf, aired June 15th, 1996. Odo collapses and is taken to the infirmary. Bashir discovers Odo is losing his ability to maintain solid form.
That's kind of a lame summary. Boo. But yeah, it happens. I wasn't blaming you. I'm just saying, come on, get it together there. People over at Memory Alpha. That's like the first 5 minutes. So, but yeah, this is your, kind of your actions have consequences episode following, a whole year after, kind of what set the stage for this one. So go ahead, please.
Yeah, so Odo's having trouble holding his shape. And
are you drawing a blank? You want me to jump in?
Go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so we do find out in last season's finale, a changeling was trying to orchestrate a war between the Federation and this other group, the Zenkethi, which was an old nemesis of the Federation, by faking this whole setup of attacking their colonies, blah, blah. Odo, and it all takes place on the Defiant in that season 3 episode called The Adversary. And there's a big struggle, and Odo has to toss this other changeling against the warp core, and it kills him. And the changelings, no changeling has ever harmed another. That was set up in their very first appearance at the beginning of season 3. So, it stands to reason that eventually there were going to be some consequences for Odo, and this is where that lands. So yeah, they found a way to make him sick. He has to, our crew has to take him back to the Gamma Quadrant and be led by the Jem'Hadar in secrecy to the Founder's new homeworld, because their old homeworld got blown up. And then Odo has to go into the link to be judged by them, otherwise he will die. And they do so, they judge him, and their judgment is when they spit him out of link after several days of judgment, they have made him mortal. They've turned him into basically a human being. And that was a big judgment. So yeah, Odo's just crushing emotional defeat in that last 10-minute segment of the episode.
And
I thought was
thing too is that they have him keep his face too.
Oh yeah.
They don't change that, and he's stuck with that sort of ineffective attempt at a humanoid face as well.
Which is still the face that they all choose to make, but they may do that just for him, because again, a changeling is not a physical being. The drop becomes the ocean becomes the drop when they leave the link. And this is all set up around, there's a Garrick subplot line where he tries to tinker with the weapons on the Defiant to blow up the planet, and then he and Worf have a fist fight, which I thought was pretty sweet. What's funny is at the end of the episode, Garrick gets 6 months in jail, and Cassidy has 6 months in jail. Yet I feel like we still see him before we see her again. But I don't know.
Garrick. He's gonna Garrick his way out of what.
Oh, he must have been like, oh, there's a tailoring emergency, Garrick. We'll consider it time served.
Yeah. Tailoring emergency.
There's a tailoring. That's almost, if the episode title we didn't have wasn't already so good, a tailoring emergency would win the day.
Tailoring emergencies later.
Yeah,
more tailoring emergencies.
I guess
He has plenty of them. So.
Oh my gosh, yes. Even in those very simple Starfleet jumpsuits they wear, there's always a tailoring emergency. Mm-hmm. So we're left with a cliffhanger, which even like I said, this was in June of '96, so it was the summertime, and I remember saying at the end of it to myself, or maybe I said it out loud, when Odo, they're watching a video of the fantastic Robert O'Reilly, Gowron, making this big speech how the Klingons are going to reconquer a world that they had previously, like a century earlier, that they had, the Arcana system that they had given to the Federation, and they're watching this broadcast on the promenade, and Odo says, hold on a second. I kept seeing his face when I was in the link. They were trying to hide it from me. Gowron is a changeling. And I said, see you in September. Just like that's like that old song. Because that's when we got to the conclusion of this, which again, we won't come back on this show to talk about season 5 of DS9 until we move through the other shows. So it's going to be a while before we reveal the split solution to you. So of course you can go look it up if you really want to, but isn't it more fun to wait like a year for us to talk about it again? Absolutely. Aaron, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, again, another great episode. Loved Garrick, love Odo in this episode. And again, I'm watching this with the benefit of hindsight, some 20 some years later. And I kept thinking to myself, I got to put my conspiracy hat, because I went deep on this one. I was watching Quark and Garrick.
Get your conspiracy hat from Garrick.
Yeah.
Oh, in a tailoring emergency. Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, no, I'm like, I was watching, Odo getting sick and everything. And correct me if I'm wrong. Those symptoms look very familiar to the plague that affects the Founders later on. Right. So is this,
you might have something.
Is this where we see the initial infection of the Founders?
You are correct. That is exactly because when this is revealed in season 7, when Odo is on Earth during the 2-parter with the Starfleet Federation coup, that episode, he's at Starfleet Medical. Section 31 gives him the disease.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they really didn't give it to him, or maybe they ramped it up somehow. But he always had it. And when he went into the link, he gave it to everybody else. Okay. So, but section, So good catch.
Okay. So that opens up a whole new can of worms for me, because I feel like the whole cold open with Garrick and everything, I feel like, that a lot of that was set up. I was thinking to myself, is Garrick working with Section 31 at this point? Is he monitoring this?
I mean, you never know.
I don't know. Just the way he was acting. I was thinking at first. I was thinking maybe this is where he gets infected when he was introducing the girl to Odo.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the initial infection, and then his insistence on wanting to go along on the mission, and that whole bit where there's a part where he goes into the Defiant and he starts, taking everything apart to steal the ship. And then, Worf busts in on him and he's like, oh, let me guess, the one thing that I missed, it all felt like distraction to me.
Right.
And I was like, it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if Section 31, knowing that he's part of the Obsidian Order, came in and was like, all right, we want to liaise with you on this, on this project. And him wanting to be there was just to monitor the infection and everything.
Ooh, that is quite a tin hat foil diary right there. So I don't know. I know. That's all right.
It's a deep dive, but that was
It's, Garrick. You never know what's going on with Garrick. Garrick is working for Garrick.
Yeah.
Is he working with the Obsidian Order? Is he working with Section 31? Is he a double agent? Is he a triple agent?
Quadruple? He's all the way around? Yeah, exactly.
He's just a simple tailor.
There's There's this one moment though that I really love looking at through the lens. Again, I may be way off base, but this is just what was made me enjoy the episode even more was where he's talking to the founder, and he's like, "What about the Kardashians?" And she's like, "They're dead. You're all dead." And he's just looking at her, right? And he's got this little smirk on his face.
He's like, "Oh, really?
Oh, really? Dead, huh? I got you first, darling." You know,
my gosh. And then the Kardashians join the Dominion, but at the end of it, look what happens to them. No spoilers for season 7. But this is the first real DS9 direct cliffhanger we've had. Well, maybe that's not true. Season 1 ended on a cliffhanger, or season 2 ended on a cliffhanger-ish, introducing the Dominion. Season 3 was the thing that we talked about, but there wasn't like an immediate thread we were going to go right into, where this is like, oh man, the whole Klingon war is a Dominion, facade. So yeah, this was the beginning of the big high stakes cliffhanger. So it's awesome. So, all right. Well, that brings us to the end of season 4 of DS9. And I know we might not have the whole season in front of us, but let's each pick a favorite and least favorite, at least of this bunch, and then grab if you can think of it, another episode in the season that you really love. So, Jen, favorite, least favorite of this batch.
Favorite is, this is tough.
I know, tougher than most.
I'm gonna go with The Quickening, but I think that's just because I'm a Bashir fangirl.
Fair.
And I like him. Least favorite is the crappy half of the Muse.
Yeah, so it's a least favorite. It's like a 50%. That is fair.
That is fair. Really good, but like the rest of,
talent vampire. No joy there. All right, Aaron. Aaron, I think you're still muted, my friend. I hate it when that happens.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Very good.
So for me, my most favorite one, and again, I might be biased, former monkey and all that. I really enjoyed For the Cause.
Oh yeah.
That was really good. You know, that long game and that payoff of Eddington and everything. Mad respect for that. Absolutely love that. Least favorite. Again, it's kind of a toss up for me between the Shattered Mirror and the Muse. Mm-hmm. I think I'm probably going to land on the Muse for that one.
It's an easy target.
Yeah, with Luxana and her story being the saving grace of that episode.
Right. Big time. Well, I hate to echo the same, but I will echo the same as the Muse being really the weak spot. I think DS9 really excels in not having a lot of duffer episodes, but everybody's do, right? I mean, they can't all be winners. It's not a greatest hits album; it's a series, right? So you're gonna have peaks and valleys. So yeah, that's definitely a duffer. But for picking a favorite. My God, so many choices, but I really like For the Cause because I really like the setup to the good versus evil versus who's good and who's evil of the whole Maquis struggle that we got obviously back in season 2 when the Maquis were introduced. You know, it's easy to be a saint in paradise, and here's people just fighting for their lives, and then listening to a very self-serving speech in its own way from Eddington, which at the same time you're like, I don't agree, but I get where you're coming from, but you're still an asshole, but I get it. I really appreciated that. So, okay, real quick, do we have another episode in the season that really knocks your socks off, Jen?
Rejoined for its personal stuff for me.
Personal awakening.
And Little Green Men as my sort of go-to comedy.
Yeah.
DS9. Like, if I need a lighthearted DS9 episode, Little Green Men is what I'm going to put on. Because
I hear ya. I like it. All right. I'm going to bring the list up while Aaron says his.
Oh, boy. Again, you're going to have to forgive me because I don't remember the title.
No, it's okay.
Episodes. But the procedural law episode with the Klingons.
Yeah. Rules of Engagement. Yeah.
Rules of I love that episode so much. That's got to be my favorite one for this season.
Awesome. God, as far as best ones, that middle part of the season with our man Bashir and then Homefront and Paradise Lost, which we were just referencing with Odo and Starfleet Medical. that might be a two-way tie for me, because that is a the latter one is a two-parter, and then a real weakness would probably again be the Muse. I hate to say it, but it's just really that bad. It's really that bad that amongst 26 episodes, it really stands out as the massive stinker. So, oh, awesome. Okay, so that puts a wrap on DS9 season 4. So the season 4-ness moves forward into Star Trek Voyager in our next episode. Ooh, Jen's going to be driving the boat, I think, on a lot of this, because she's not only our resident Voyager expert, but season 4 of Voyager introduces 7 of 9, which Jen is our 7 of 9, and quite literally in a great photo shoot that we did at C2E2 earlier this year. But yeah, really looking forward to that. So cool, you guys. Thank you. Jen, where do people find you out there in the world?
I've got a Linktree that's at linktree.com/JenWatsonArt. You will find links to my Instagram, Facebook, Etsy shop, currently on vacation, and my Screen Rant author page, where you can find all of my cool stories about Star Trek.
Woo! Love Jen's stuff. She's a hell of a writer. Aaron, where do people find you?
Yeah, so you can find my SFI chapter, USS Rhapsody SFI chapter on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course, respect to my Ghostbuster crew, Team GBMI of Michigan. We are Michigan GBMI Ghostbusters on Facebook and on YouTube.
Totally awesome. And very happily having ditched X, I can now be found on Threads at C3Carpenter. Go ahead and spell it out. Also on Instagram, it's the same. I don't do anything super exciting, but I'm always out there trying to have some fun. My lovely wife, April, and I do run the USS Grand Petoskey. We are one of the biggest chapters of the International Star Trek Fan Club, which also includes USS Rhapsody, a chapter that Aaron found us, but we're helping him get off the ground. We're based here in West Michigan, but we have chapters all over the state of Michigan and Eastern Canada. I'm very fortunate to run Region 13 for SFI and help new Trekkers find Trekkers in their area. Please give us a visit to Region 13, sfi.org, or ussgrandpetoskey.com, and we can help you find fellow Trekkers where you're at. With that, I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trekking.
And be the Starfleet you wish to see in the world.
I still don't have a catchphrase, so we're going to do a Ryan Reynolds special catchphrase.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.